Alright, I got a bit of a confession to make. I grew up in the early 2000s of gaming with the PlayStation 2, the original Xbox, Game Boy Advance, and Nintendo DS, and I had them all. But there was one console I was missing, a really important console to me that I was actually missing, I don't even remember hearing about. That was the Nintendo GameCube. It wasn't until 2018, until I was an adult, that I went to Craigslist and actually bought a GameCube, scary enough, for $25. That's 17 years later and $175 cheaper. And I quickly began loving the GameCube, playing the GameCube, talking about the GameCube, researching the GameCube. And then it hit me. I was nostalgic for this console, but I never had one. So in this video, I want to dive a bit deeper on kind of what I mean by that and really flesh out what really nostalgia means for me in terms of the GameCube and not really having one. And I know I can't be the only one, so let's talk about it. Welcome to Play Your Way, where we like to talk about the way we play and more. I am Brian, and let's talk about this Nintendo GameCube now. My first thought of why I think I actually feel this way of this, this Nintendo GameCube really feeling nostalgic for me, but I never even owned one as a kid. And that's really because, like I mentioned in the intro, I was gaming during this time in the early 2000s, 2001, 2, 3, 4, even 5 and 6. I had all of those consoles except the GameCube, but I was in there. And so whenever I see gameplay, or I myself play the Nintendo GameCube, and I just see the visuals of that early 2000s video game visuals, the mechanics, the gameplay, how it feels, it really does take me back to that time of when I did play during that time, but just not specifically the GameCube. When I look at that GameCube gameplay and when I play it, it really does remind me of that original Xbox, that PlayStation 2 era that I actually know very well and I am familiar with. And so it really takes me back to that time. I missed out on the GameCube, but that's the first thing I think of when I think about the Nintendo GameCube and really why it feels nostalgic for me. Now, number two, the Game Boy Advance. Now, I know the Game Boy Advance system very well. I grew up with one, and I probably spent the most amount of hours on my Game Boy Advance as a kid. And let's be honest, the GameCube is very intertwined with the Game Boy Advance. They're almost one and the same in the sense that, I mean, you could literally attach a Game Boy player, which I do have and absolutely love, to the bottom of the GameCube and play Game Boy Advance games on the TV. Moving it a step further, there are many games that actually require a link cable and for you to play on the Game Boy Advance when it comes to multiplayer aspect, maybe even a co-op. I know I remember seeing on Sonic Adventure DX on the back that you could use a link cable. I believe Pokemon Coliseum when it comes to trading, and specifically Zelda 4 Swords Adventures, you can't play 2, 3, 4 player without a link cable in 2 Game Boy Advances. So that's the second thought of why I really feel like I feel nostalgic for this console I never owned, is because I did own a Game Boy Advance and I played it a lot. So with it being really intertwined with the console, it really does take me back to that time. The Game Boy Advance era was right alongside that GameCube, so that really does remind me of it. Now, my thought number three of really why I feel a sense of nostalgia for the GameCube, even though I never owned one, was Nintendo in itself. Now, if you never even grew up with a Nintendo console, you know Nintendo very well. You know their IPs, you know their games, you know the characters, you know the quality to expect, and you know the values that they are about. They are about the fun and cute. They are about the family-centered aspect, and those characters and franchises that they do have really mimic that. And they're iconic, they're classic. You've got the Marios, you've got the Zeldas, you've got the Kirbys, the Yoshis, the Donkey Kongs. You have all those cute, fun, classic characters that really highlight who Nintendo is. And let's be honest, yes, Sony is fantastic, Xbox, Microsoft, they're doing fantastic. But there's just a level of Nintendo that you just cannot get to. They just make a unique quality and packaged well when it comes to their games, and they offer something different. And so whenever I see, these classic characters, the Marios, the Zeldas, whatever the case is, and I'm playing the GameCube, I'm familiar with those characters already, so I already get a sense of, yeah, I remember playing Pokemon on the Game Boy. Oh yeah, I remember, playing Mario Kart on the Game Boy Advance or DS games or whatever the case is. I remember these characters because I played them. I know them now. The fun thing about the GameCube is they have, the GameCube has such a fantastic library. And so with these classic games and these characters, I'm able to experience in a fresh, new way these retro classics with these retro classic characters, just on a new system that I never got to experience as a kid. And so my thought number 4 is this. In the past 2 to 3 years, I've really gotten to know the Nintendo GameCube console very well, playing the games, researching videos of what games to collect for, and I've gotten to know the console well. I would say not perfectly, but I've gotten my hand in those games that I have and that I have played. And with that being said, all the research and all the gaming that I've done with this console, I've gotten to know it well as if I have had one in the past. And I know that's not the case, but you've probably been in a situation where you do something so much, or you like something so much that you feel like you've always known it or you've always experienced it. And that's kind of how I feel with the GameCube is, I've gotten to know it the past 2 or 3 years very, very well. I mean, even to the point of knowing game prices, because those GameCube prices are off the charts. And so knowing those game prices, with those popular first-party IPs off the top of my head and keeping up with those just for the fun of it, I've really got to know the console very well. And so actually, to end off this video, I kind of want to showcase the games that I have played for the console and end off with the wish list for the console, because there's some heavy hitters that I would love to have in my collection. But the first game that I played actually back in 2020, my first ever GameCube game that I actually played was Luigi's Mansion. And man, what a refreshing, unique, and honestly a very fun game that really gets me excited to play 2 and 3. The next one that I actually played was Sonic Adventure DX. Again, this was actually my second Sonic game that I've ever played back last year, and it was very interesting. My first one was Sonic Forces, and the second one that I played was Sonic Adventure DX, and it was a very interesting experience. It was fun. I don't really know how to expand on it too much, but it was a cool game, and honestly, I wouldn't mind checking out Sonic Adventure 2 because I've heard actually great things about that one as well. Now, the third one that I mentioned previously is The Legend of Zelda 4 Swords Adventure. Again, my wife and I played this back in 2020, and we literally had to have 2 consoles because the only way to play multiplayer in Zelda 4 Swords Adventures is with a link cable, and you'll need at least 2 link cables. I don't know why Nintendo didn't just say, let's have them play with 2 Nintendo GameCube controllers instead of 2 actual consoles, but hey, nonetheless, we played it. It was a nightmare, but we still enjoyed what we could, and it was a fun experience nonetheless. And so the third game that I actually played earlier this year, which I really loved, and that was Pokemon Colosseum. And I'm a big Pokemon fan, and so experiencing the Pokemon franchise in this unique and different way was really, really mesmerizing. The soundtrack, the dark storylines, the unique game mechanics, I was for it all. And we'll talk about the wish list of Gale of Darkness being on that and wanting to play that one as well, but absolutely loved Pokemon Colosseum. Now the next one I actually want to kind of go in depth with is Chibi-Robo. Now this one is a forgotten character. It's a hidden gem, but show some love to Chibi-Robo. If you want something new, refreshing, and just different, buy Chibi-Robo. Now, it's a bit of an expensive one, so whatever the case is, I would still encourage to play it nonetheless, however you can. But Chibi-Robo is a fantastic, fantastic game. Awesome story. The characters are great. It's just different. And that's a good thing because you can kind of get in the habit of just playing games that you're familiar with and kind of expecting and kind of get in a rut. But this is kind of like a breath of fresh air. Chibi-Robo, it's a great one. So the next one I actually want to go in depth with as well is Billy Hatcher and the Giant Egg. And man, if you want to talk about also different and unique, this one is it as well. But visualize for a moment in your head, visualize Katamari Damacy, Super Monkey Ball, and Sonic. And if they had a baby, out pops out Billy Hatcher. this is a game that is unique but looks visually stunning on the GameCube. I was amazed how good it still looked and held up on the GameCube when I played it. And also the controls, it's a platformer, action, adventure platformer. And so, back in the GameCube days, I'm expecting some kind of finicky controls, and actually they were very smooth. And of course I used the Wavebird controller, and it was just amazing experience. It was a fun game. That's also another one I actually highly encourage playing. There will be their frustrating moments for sure, but it's still a great one to check out. And lastly, the last GameCube game that I actually played this year was Super Mario Sunshine, and I don't have too much to expand on it, but boy am I glad I actually played this one, because it was a fun, once again, I've said the word unique millions of times in this video, but it really was a unique game for the GameCube, and well, for the Mario series in general. Yes, there's always been kind of the 3D aspect coming off of Super Mario 64, but with FLUDD being kind of this unique mechanic that they add in there, and Bowser Jr. being the kind of the antagonist throughout it all, it was a fun experience. Absolutely frustrating in very much many moments, but it was still a great experience. And so I do have a wish list that I do want to go into, and we'll see if I ever get my hands on any of these, because the prices are steadily growing up. Number 1, Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness. Like I said, I played Pokemon Colosseum, and this one is a game that I do want to check out. It's a game that, I love the first one. I want to check out the second one. So I'm curious to see, what the changes were, how the storyline mixes, and Shadowluvia, come on, gotta play it. Number 2, Wario World. This is a bit of an interesting one, and I don't hear it talked about a lot because Wario's an interesting character, and he has his Wario Land series, but those are 2D games, and with Wario World being a 3D action game, I really do actually want to check this game out. And so next on the list is Pikmin 1 and 2. I actually have never played a Pikmin game, so with the GameCube really housing 1 and 2, I would love to go back and check Pikmin 1 and 2 and just again get a new unique IP that is new to me for sure, because I've never played a Pikmin game, and really kind of get pumped for the Pikmin 3 Deluxe that's actually on the Switch, and kind of get up to date with that one. But I would love to check out Pikmin 1 and 2 on the GameCube. And so number 4, Skies of Arcadia, which I know is a unique one and was a port from the Dreamcast. And it's a JRPG that kind of caught my eye early on, because I love the cover art, and also just the thought of like Sky Pirates and this Japanese role-playing game. It's sign me up. I want to check it out. It looks fantastic. Number 5 and 6 here, and that is Metroid Prime 1 and 2. I'll be honest, I've never played a Metroid game, but I want that to change, because I am really interested in the Metroid Prime series. The regular Metroid, the 2D Metroid, isn't really for me. I'm not the biggest 2D fan, but the Metroid Prime is more up my alley, and I really do want to check those games out. So Metroid Prime 1 and 2. Alright, so the second to last one here is Paper Mario and the Thousand-Year Door. I actually ended up playing Paper Mario the Origami King earlier this year, and it kind of had me hooked on the Paper Mario series, and everyone goes back to Paper Mario the Thousand-Year Door as kind of like the classic and a very good Paper Mario game. And every time I see that cover art, I just want to go and play that game. And lastly, we'll see if I ever get my hands on this one, but Fire Emblem Path of Radiance. As you know, earlier this year as well, I played my first ever Fire Emblem game, and I really enjoyed it. Like, I absolutely enjoyed it. And so the next one that I've kind of had my eye on is Path of Radiance. It's on the GameCube. It's a game that I want to play out. It's a Fire Emblem game I want to check out. It's going up in price, and so with all that being said, talking about GameCube wish list, we can't not talk about the elephant in the room, and that's GameCube prices. Just stop. Just stop.